Hi everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we're gonna work on the Logout endpoint. That's where we just finished in a previous video, but also we're gonna display the list of created posts and implement the search. Now, let's first work on the Logout endpoint. Here, if I go on the login page and then I log in this user, and if I inspect here I get into the cons tab and tap local storage that gets item user data, and we are going to get an object which holds data of the logged in user plus the token. Now we need to clear this data within the browser when the user logged out, but also we need to clear the token of the logged in user within the personal access tokens table, because when a user logged in, Laravel process check first if the email of the user is valid and password, and then if the email and password it is valid, they're going to store the ID of the user within the tokenable column, the name of the token, and the token, the key. Because here you can see here we got a column name. This is the token that they encrypt to this key right here. Now, we need to log out the user. When we click on the logout endpoint, we need to remove the user within this table, personal access token. Because if we go to the backend, let's move to blog application and get into the auth controller. Let me zoom. Okay. Here you can see we got a logout endpoint. Here within the post, I think we got here a logout end. Let me go within the roots API. And here you can see we just got a function within the auth controller logout. Let me search for it. Yeah, you can see we doesn't yet create a function that is going to log out the user. That's what we're gonna do first. Here you can see it doesn't have this function. You can see here we got an endpoint within this API that's PHP logout, but within the auth controller, we doesn't have this logout function. Let's create first this function. Here I'm gonna create this function here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna public. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna delete first this. I'm gonna do public function and then logout user, and then I'll do this request pass the request class, and then here I'm gonna use the DB class. Here we got the DB class. Here I'm gonna do DB that table. Here you can see within the personal we're gonna copy the personal access table, and we're gonna delete the ID of the logged in user within this table. Here we're gonna point to the tokenable ID column. Here we're gonna do this where tokenable ID column. Here request, we're gonna send the user ID. That's what we want to delete within the personal access tokens. And then we're gonna delete this user within this table. And then I'm gonna return a message, return a response message. I'm gonna say user logged out, logged out. Here we with a response of 200. Now we need to hit this endpoint, and to hit this endpoint we need to send it a user ID like this. We need to send this data. Now let's get into the VueJs application and try to hit this logout endpoint. Here you can see we need to send the post request. Now let's get into this the blog application. Here you can see we need to get into the auth page. I'm not create within the views folder. Here we got the admin and admin page. Within the admin page, you can see here we got a logout, and then here I'm going to create another action. I'm gonna name it logout user, and then I'm gonna copy the code we got within the create post action. Let me copy this code. I'm gonna copy this code within the logout user file, and here I'm gonna say this. As you can see within our Laravel application, within the auth controller here, the logout function returns a message, and here we're gonna change the response type. We're gonna say logout response type, and then we're gonna change this. And here, what we need to pass to this function, we're gonna say here logout user HTTP, and here we need to pass the user ID. Here we need to pass the user ID. It is type of number. And here, let's copy this. It is going to be an object. Let me do this. Here, I'm gonna send here the user ID. Yeah, like this, and also the logout endpoints. Now I think everything it is okay, but also we need to send this token because we can't hit to the logout endpoint, and we doesn't provide a valid token. We need to be logging in order to hit that endpoint. Now I think everything it is clear. Let me remove this, and then we are going to copy the logout user HTTP within. Let me copy first the logout user HTTP and move to the admin page here, and then I'm gonna add a function. I'm gonna do click. I'm gonna call this function. I'm gonna create a function. It's going to be a sync function. I'm gonna do this a sync function logout user, and then I'm gonna do a wait. I'm gonna await it, and then here you can see here we got a function use data which returns login response type, and the login response type returns an object of the logged in user. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do if user data that's user that's ID. I'm gonna check if this data right here it is not undefined. I'm gonna do type of user data different from undefined, and then if it is different from undefined, I'm gonna call this function. And then here you can see we need to import first the logout user HTTP function, and then we need to pass it this code right here. Let me create a variable right here, const user ID, and then I'm gonna store it in that, and then let me remove this, and then I'm gonna pass the user ID to this function here. You can see the error disappear. Now we need to call the logout user function on this span tag, and then I'm gonna say here the cursor it is going to be pointer, so that's when we over the logout here, the logout tag, we're gonna get this little hand. Now here, if we click on the logout, we're gonna remove the user within the token, within the personal access token. But also when we await first the logout user finished, and then here we're gonna say window.location.href. We're gonna move to the login. That's what we want to do, but also we can do this little message. You can do data, and we're gonna do show. I'm gonna say show success, and then I'm gonna do the data that message. I'm gonna display this. I'm gonna use a set term function here. I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna call this black after 2 seconds. Now do this show error after 2 seconds. Yeah, and then the user it is going to be logged out logged out of system. Now let's move to the browser and click on logout. Yeah, if I click on logout, nothing happened. Let me first get in register of controller and register. Let me go back within the browser and log in again. Yeah, we just log in, and then let's click on logout. When we click on logout, we just logged out directly, but we didn't show the message. Now, if we inspect, we get into the console and do local storage that gets rm user data. Here you can see that we doesn't clear out this data within the local storage. The data is still there, and we need to add one more thing right here. We're gonna do local storage clear, and here I'm gonna display this success message, and then we're gonna log out the user. Let's try to log in again. Let me show you something here. Within the personal access token, we got logged in user, some logged in user, and then I'm not truncate this table. I'm not do truncate personal access token. I need to reset it. And then if I click on personal access tokens, you can see that our table actually doesn't have any value. Now we need to move to the login page and try to log in again. Once we log in, we provide good credentials, and then we run the dashboard. And if we get into the personal access tokens, you can see we got a tokenable ID which is 12. And here, if we see the user which have the 12 ID, it is Ben and his email address. Now if we do this, here we run the admin page, and here if I hit the logout endpoint, you can see got a message and the user has been kicked out of the system. Now, and you can see the user has been kicked out of the system. Now here, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get into the console again and do local storage that gets user data. Yeah, we got null because the user has been logged out of the system, and within the personal access token, the user was being deleted. And let's try to do this. If I do this, I type here /admin. I'm not getting to this area because right now I've deleted the user data within the browser. But if I do this, let me show you something, guys. I need you to understand. If I do local storage that sets use data, and then I'm gonna pass it a JavaScript. I'm gonna do JSON.stringify, and then I'm gonna pass it an empty object here like this, and then you can see you got user data. And if we do local storage that get user rm, type user data, and then we can see we got an object. And if I go to the admin page here, I type admin, you can see I land on the admin page because within the console here, user data, when we call the user data, let's go to the user data function within the helper folder, get user data. Here we are checking if type of user data, it is not null, we are going to redirect the user to the login page. And here it is not the case because here, if we get into the console and we tap local storage that gets user use data, and you can see here our local storage, it is not null, and that's why we move to this area here. But we can't create a post because right now we doesn't have, when we click on the logout endpoint here, you can see we doesn't have the token, and the user it is not logged in within the personal access token. It doesn't have the user within it. And if I try to create a post here, let me say, so what is Cap Elias? And then here I'm gonna put content and then here I'm trying to create a post, and you can see we got a message unauthenticated. This is the message returned by Laravel, unauthenticated. Why? Because we doesn't provide a valid token to the server. Because we doesn't provide a valid token to the server. And let me show you something. If the user land on this page and he doesn't have the token, we want that once the system detects that the user logged in with the system and he doesn't have a valid token, we want that the system kicked him out of the system immediately. Now, here, I'm gonna go on the backend again here, and I'm gonna create another function here. I'm gonna create another endpoint, sorry, here roots. I'm gonna say it is going to be an end and a get. I'm gonna say check user logged in. This is the endpoint, logged in, and then logged in. And then here, I'm gonna pass here the auth controller class, and here I'm gonna pass here the function user is logged in. This function it is going to return true if the user is logged in. And then I'm gonna copy this within the auth controller here, create public function, and then I'm gonna pass it the request class, and then here I'm gonna return just a response, and then I'm gonna do message. The message it is going to be empty. I'm just want to ensure that the user which logged land on the administration page has a valid token. That's what I want just to do. Now here I pass 200 response, and then let's hit this endpoint here. Let me grab this endpoint, and then let me go first within the admin page here. You can see here within the IPP file, we are going to create a function here on mounted. Here's a hook, a lifecycle hook method of VueJs. And then we're gonna call this function when a user land on the administration page here. Let me grab this function within the admin page, not there, admin page. And then here, I'm gonna create here this function. And then here, you can see here, we just import this unmounted function from Vue. And here, if I do hello world, and then let me get into the browser and within the console tab and see what we get in console. If I refresh, here, we got hello world because we on the admin page, and this admin page it is considered as the entry point of other pages. Now we got here hello world. Now here on this here within the unmounted, we're gonna pass here a function. We're gonna create another HTTP function here. You're gonna say user is logged in. This is the row of this function, and then I'm gonna copy this code right there, and then I'm gonna get into the user is logged in. Guys, don't worry, I'm gonna put the code on GitHub, don't worry, and then I'm gonna remove this. And then I'm gonna say that this is, I'm gonna tap it, I'm gonna say user is logged in response type. I'm gonna pass it, and then here we're gonna hit the get endpoints. Let me copy this check user logged in endpoint here. Let me paste it right there, and then here we're gonna send the token, and if the user it is not valid, verify token, I'm not getting to this function. You can see here, if the token it is not valid, we're gonna do this. Here, let me go within this page. Let me go within this page right here. User is logged in. And then here, I'm gonna change this function, user. I'm gonna say user is logged in post HTTP. And then here, I'm gonna call this function. I'm gonna remove this. We are not going to send any input to it. We just need to hit this endpoint. And in order to hit this endpoint, we need to provide a valid token. And then I'm gonna call this function within the admin page here. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, I just import it and paste it right here. I'm gonna do here a sync await. I'm gonna await this function to finish in order the user land on this page. And then if I get on the create post page and I refresh, here you can see we got a message within the console, unauthenticated. Why? This is an error that we got from Laravel. It returns a message, and then I'm gonna copy this message and get into this. I'm gonna do try catch, and then here I'm gonna check if error is instance. I'm gonna do this. If error instance of error class, and then I'm gonna do if I'm gonna create another condition if message it is equal to unauthenticated. Here you can see we got a message returned by Laravel, unauthenticated. I'm checking the message, it is unauthenticated, and then I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do window that's location that's href. I redirect the user to the login page. Yeah, like this. And to create a clean code, I'm gonna create a function. I'm gonna say a sync function user is logged in, and then I'm gonna pass this right there. And then here I'm gonna call this function, and I should await it to finish in order the user land on the administration page. Yeah, let me refactor. Yeah, everything is clear. And then let's try it again to refresh. You're gonna see here it doesn't get an error. Here, let's see why we doesn't move to the logout, the login page. Let me check why here. If the error it is instance of error, and error it is unauthenticated. Let's see first the error, what it is returning. Let me do that local console.log error and see what we get in console. Yeah, we got here a point here. Unauthenticated has a point. You can see there. We need to add here points. Yeah, that's it, guys. And then let's try to check again. Let's move into the browser and try to refresh again. Here, it doesn't work. I don't know why. Let me copy a correct message and then do this. And then do here local console.log error. And then we need to hit this code right there. Here it doesn't get anything. It is not processed this. I'm going to type the error. Yeah, here is type of any. I don't know why it doesn't accept. Yeah, here you can see that I should do the error is instance of error, but it doesn't work. I don't know why, but soon I'm gonna discover that behavior. Let's first do this. And here, this is how we secure our administration page. Now, if we tap again, /admin, and then we doesn't provide a valid token, they kicked us out of the administration page. And here you can see that our system has become robust. We just secure the administration page. If I click again on the login and I provide back good credential, you can see here we are not kicked out of the administration page because we provide valid token. And that's all, guys, for this video. In the next video, we're gonna start working on this page post list. We're gonna display all created posts, and also we're gonna do pagination. I see you there.